So, still leaking oil, we head off on our final stage to the Ilha de Mozambique. It was one of the Empire's last stops before South Africa, a tiny, old, glittering city, a kind of jewel box. Pierre, intrigued, has agreed to take me there. But a civil war is raging around the island, and though we have clearance to go in, we have no idea what to expect. The beautiful beaches of Mozambique are empty. Occasionally we see tank tracks, and when we glimpse people, they run for the cover of the trees.
And then we should be off the coast, not overland. Have a few guerrillas inland. Right. They shoot at you.
Why is that?
Well, there's a war in Mozambique going on. Our insurance only covers us for 10 miles along the coast, and we don't want to be above them. They shoot at you. They shoot at aeroplanes.
Approaching the government-held town of Pemba, we came face to face with the realities of Mozambique's civil war. Army missile bases were ranged along our coastal route, but our radio frequencies didn't match theirs. The Pemba control tower offered us a choice of options. We could either continue down the coast and risk being shot at with our insurance cover intact, or we could divert inland uninsured. We decided to sleep on it.
Currently there's a no-man's zone right in and around this
We
area
chose the
here.
safer inland option, but then a Canadian pilot on a relief mission warned that the Renamo rebels were a lot more active than officials had led us to believe.
I didn't I guess mean no man's land. It's a Renamo land. It's no man for us.
Yeah.
You know, we don't want to go in there.
Yeah, and that would extend south pretty well as far as this right here then.
The last time I was in there was like 3 months ago.
Yeah.
So my information isn't current.
Right.
You know, things are fluid here. They change day to day. Could be hot one day, could be not the next. I mean, remember, this is Mozambique. It's a country of war. Everything changes. Wherever you fly in the country, you've got a risk.
Yeah.
It's accepted.
Are they shooting at civil aircraft?
Oh, they shoot at low-flying aircraft that aren't supposed to be there. You're talking about Renamo. Like both of them will shoot at you.
Right.
Yeah, you have to be aware of that.
Inland or along the coast, both options looked equally bleak. Even the idea of turning back, now quite appealing, wasn't feasible. With little to choose from, Pierre ordered Jim inland. 10 minutes after takeoff, we ran into the extremities of a tropical cyclone. Jim's instinct was to fly high in case there were any SAM 7s, but Oliver pointed out that if he lost sight of the ground, he wouldn't know where he was. The compromise was to hug the cloud base.
Looks pretty fucking rough. Yeah.
My worries about insurance and the starboard engine were overtaken by the nagging thought that someone down there might be watching us through the eyepiece of a missile launcher. The weather worsened, forcing us still lower. Then, all at once, we were there. The tiny Ilha de Mozambique swam into view. A wave of relief ran through the plain. We came down at dusk on the very spot where, half a century earlier, the Imperial flying boats had landed. On the 1st of May, 1939, a Captain Smith, piloting Imperial's Challenger, misjudged his approach while alighting here and crashed, killing his flight clerk and radio officer. noise coming across the water astonished us. It was like the roar from a football terrace, and many of the cheering, yelling islanders even waded in waist deep to wave to us. Most were refugees from the war, homeless and hungry, and the generosity of their welcome was extraordinarily moving. We became aware that not a single light was showing on the island. Pierre said that cutting power lines was a classic prelude to a guerrilla attack. When the last flying boat landed here, this had been a beautiful, well-ordered little place. The ancient capital of Portugal's African empire, it was founded more than 3 centuries ago, conceived as a tiny replica of faraway Lisbon. Then, in 1975, the Portuguese suddenly ran away. Threatened by native freedom fighters, they were packed and gone within days, leaving behind their perfectly miniaturized rendering of a great European city. But the euphoria of the young Frelimo government was short-lived. South Africa funded a rebel army to destabilize its Marxist neighbor, and the Ilha de Mozambique found itself cut off. Its economy collapsed, and its fine 17th century townhouses rotted. Now, every time it rains, another falls down. Apathy and inertia hang over this besieged island like a fog. Ironically, these useless old guns are pointed straight at the village of Mozoel, clearly visible across the water, where the Renamo rebels have their headquarters, and the staff officers plan their eventual conquest of the island. Most of this landscape is under their control, and very little moves here without their say-so. Refugees are arriving all the time, 1,000 more within the past 2 weeks. Room is made for them, nobody complains. The future is something they do not contemplate. The present preoccupies them entirely.
Yeah, fish. Eh?
The dozen shops have nothing in them and are closed. There isn't enough food to justify the existence of a market, so you get it where you can.
How much el kilo this one?
500, Mr. Guy.
Eh?
500.
500?
Yeah.
How much is 500?
1 pound, 2 pound, 3 pound, 4 pound, 8 pound.
There's no work, no water. The guerrillas blew the main some time ago. Only sporadic power and very little hope. This is clearly no place for a vulnerable old flying boat. Pierre knows he cannot return here.
We have to take off into the wind, so this area would be very difficult to use because it's not long. So a long area, approximately this long, we would need, as long as the island, to take off.
The tropical cyclone that dogged us earlier is still about, and Jim's anxious to be off.
O lugar que podemos encontrar, por exemplo, as questões de ventos, temos 2 ventos, vento norte e vento sul. Não é? Neste momento, o melhor lugar é esta parte aqui. Toda essa zona que estão a ver.
It was hard to say goodbye. We seemed, briefly, to have reinstated the island's old links, its access to a world with wider, brighter horizons. Two hours later, we departed, waved off by a people who, despite unimaginable hardships and deprivations, had shown us nothing but kindness. The last of the African flying boats leaving the weird little island where the empires once called. Both the island and the empire boats are anachronisms, of course. They're relics of an era when European powers saw nothing strange about constructing sumptuous flying machines for their male and ruling classes, or building gilded replicas of their capitals on tropical mud banks far from home. At the Ilha de Mozambique, the two came together. But to what purpose? Now the Empire boat is extinct, dead as the dodo, while this tiny place rots and festers and in a few years will become just another jungly monument to old European conceits. In a way, Piers Catalina is an even greater anachronism. It can't touch the Empire for elegance and luxury, nothing ever will, but it's very old and as close to the real thing as you're likely to get. But in the final analysis, it's an illusion, really. A ghost of those great shadows that 3 times a week, usually on time, passed this way and briefly eclipsed the African sun.
Then our liberators opened up. Stubbornly, the enemy held on until 171 aircraft dropped 145 tons of bombs in a half hour. It was the heaviest air bombardment yet cooked up in the South Pacific in one day. By the time resistance had ended, the enemy had lost 350 aircraft. In only 9 days, the Allies rushed the strip into operating condition. P-40s were the first to land, followed by heavy bombers which could easily be carried on the coral runways. Warhawks helped protect the base as we rapidly built it into a key for the Solomon Islands. In a few weeks, traffic exceeded that of any field in the South Pacific, reaching the peak of 564 aircraft in one day.
The Munda campaign had shown the success of a new tactic, bypassing heavily defended enemy points and gaining air superiority behind them. General MacArthur described the island-hopping campaign as a series of battles for airfields. In the South Pacific, as elsewhere in all global operations, the Allies had proved the might of air power. Air power had helped clear submarines from the Atlantic. Air power had conquered the hump. Air power had made Pacific island hopping possible. Later chapters will show these daring tactics applied to smashing the Axis itself, as more men and weapons were added to the mighty arsenal of the United States Air Force.
soon.